Welcome to the Media Pro Show, the show that gives you quick, simple tips to grow your business by serving as an expert in the media. Learn how to get all the podcasts, TV, radio, newspaper, magazine, and online interviews and media appearances that you want, and learn how to be great in those media appearances. I'm Dr. David Geyer, orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine specialist, and media health and wellness expert. This week's tip is very simple, and it should be very obvious, so I shouldn't have to do an entire episode on it. But it's a mistake I see all kinds of experts making, not just doctors and other healthcare experts, but attorneys and real estate agents and financial analysts and financial planners and so many other experts when they're doing TV interviews or podcasts or radio interviews, really anywhere. And it's a mistake that can not only derail your interview and make it not turn out as great as you want it to, but it could potentially keep the viewer, the reader, the listener from becoming a customer, client, or patient. And this mistake is very simple. It's using jargon or technical language. This basically means these are words or phrases or language that you use in your job and you use in your career, but that the average person, the average reader or viewer or listener doesn't understand. I've used this example before, but I want to use it again to sort of drive home this point. Early in the days of the coronavirus, either in the few days right before or right after President Trump made his national declaration, the emergency declaration at the sort of the start of what we knew of as the pandemic in March of 2020, somewhere right around that time, I managed, flipping channels or somewhere I managed to see an interview on CNN or Fox News, one of the cable news networks. And whoever the host was interviewing this infectious disease expert about, the coronavirus and what to expect. And this infectious disease expert kept using the term "are not." And it just stunned me. I bet I watched him do it 3 or 4 times, that he never explained what this term was. The host never asked him what that term meant, and he kept using it over and over again. Now, I knew what that term meant because as the medical expert for 2 TV stations here in Charleston, South Carolina, I was on TV basically every day talking about the coronavirus. So I was constantly having to do research in medical journals, reading the latest studies to be able to explain that information to the public. So I became familiar with the term "are not." But I promise you, almost no other doctors other than infectious disease doctors know what that term means. In case you're wondering, "are not" is a statistical variable that represents the number of people infected with a virus or something else, the number of people that person infects, somebody with COVID-19 in this case, the number of people that person infects. So an "are not" of 3 means somebody with COVID-19 infects 3 other people. Well, I can guarantee you 3 things about that interview. 1, 99.99% of the people watching had no idea what "are not" or any of the other complicated language he meant, what any of that meant. Second, I promise you that he didn't get a single patient out of that interview and out of being on network cable news. And 3, the producer of that show and the producers of that entire cable news network never had him back on for an interview. I can guarantee you that. Talking without using jargon and technical language in a media interview, it's really hard because these are words, these are terms that you use every day in your job and talking to colleagues. You did extra training to become somebody that works in that field and to become an expert in that. And the terms that you need to know to do your job. But your current clients, your current customers or patients don't know those words. And I can promise you that the person watching that media interview or listening to it or reading it have no idea what that means. You need to talk in ways that everybody can understand, using simple, easy to understand language. I know it's difficult, but it's critically important that you do that. One of the easy ways that you can know if you're using words and terminology that the average person wouldn't know is to explain the topic or explain the issue you're going to be talking about in the media interview. Explain it to a child or an adolescent. You'll know very, very quickly if you're words, your language is too hard to understand. But it's more than just using simple to easy to understand language. It's using stories or anecdotes, maybe simple sound bites to help that reader or viewer or listener not just understand the information, but explain and understand why it should be important to them. Maybe you make it something that they can relate to or something they've heard about, maybe something they've seen a celebrity deal with. It's not about just simple language. It's about making your information, your content memorable and relatable. This takes work. I know it does, but I promise it will be worth it. If you can share information in your media interviews that not only make it easy to understand, but make it memorable and relatable, I promise you're going to have this kind of reaction. Somebody watching will say, hey, I like her. I have that problem, so maybe I should call her office. One of the things I do with the clients I work with one-on-one is that you and I prepare for your next interview. We create a message and talking points and predict questions that the host may ask you. And then we prepare your answers, not just in ways that the viewer or the reader or listener will understand, but hopefully will convince them that they should work with you more in the future. Now, none of this in this podcast or on my website or really anything dealing with my media coaching, I'm not giving you specific business advice, financial, medical, legal, or otherwise. If you have specific business concerns, please talk to a specialist in that area. But if you want to get better in your media interviews, if you want to get more customers, clients, and patients out of those media interviews, and you want to become hopefully the go-to expert in your town and in your industry, I can help you become a media pro. Go to MediaProsCoaching.com. Sign up for a free 30-minute strategy session with me where we figure out where you are in your business and what you're trying to achieve, and then outline some simple steps, things you can implement right away to start getting more customers, clients, and patients. And while you're there, get your free copy of the Media Pros Interview Checklist. Simple tips, simple recommendations you should do before every interview. Doesn't matter if it's TV, radio, podcast, or anywhere else. Simple things that you can do so that you're not only great in that interview, but you get asked back over and over again. Getting better on TV or on radio or in podcasts or anywhere else you do media interviews, it's a process. You work at it and get better at it the more and more you do it, including eliminating jargon and technical language and using simple, easy to understand information that's memorable and relatable. It's all work and it's all a process. So always remember the words of the legendary trainer of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Charles Barkley, Dwayne Wade, Russell Wilson. He had a very simple sort of checklist. Decide, commit, act, succeed, repeat.